Alright, and a rest. Stretch my legs type thing. Some drink. Back in the game.
Beautiful.
Alright. Oh. Surrender thy soul. Domine protect us. You got this again. How many times is this today? Take your jokes and shove them. Earthling. Okay. Loot. What is loot? Um,
Let's see what we can do.
it's a puzzle. Which way are these things face? I think so.
Here we go.
That's facing down. Oh. Okay. I want to get up. Get up. Damn. Oh.
I can handle it.
Alright. A century ago, my parents fled to the homeland of was, terrified of the invading demons. They were certain that the war would be over soon, so they didn't go too far and found a refuge here in Pinabras. They used what little savings they had and to build a tavern where any crusader could get a bowl of soup and a good night's rest in exchange for some money and news about their recent victories. What was that thing? Um, the city looked completely different back then. It was a triumphal city, full of hope, inspiring songs, brave paladins, and shining armor. We praised Our Lady Ruma openly and hoped that the lands of our ancestors would be ours again in no time. Things have changed since then. The parents have left to the goddess tools. Dresden is long gone. The world wound is deeper every day, and the Crusaders seem to take more interest in fighting each other and us townfolk than in dicing in yeah, things like eradicating. That's what it is. Eradicating demons. Um, Thorin has gone mad and now puts all of his positive zeal into burning witches. Today, Nablus is a city of fear and suspicion. We even had to hide an altar of the Shimmering Maiden in the basement so they wouldn't accuse us of demon worship. Queen Godfrey has recently appointed Elrond the patriot of the color of this Nablus. Now, nothing will stop their murderers. Um, okay, Elrond. Stop the murder from taking complete control. This murder from taking complete control of the city into the hands and serving with the so-called justice on everyone else. His previous acts of violence were just the beginning of full-scale massacre. We have to flee, run like our parents did. This time, not from demons, but from the Crusaders. Soon we will sell our tavern, leave anywhere away from this agony of this endless war. May Pura or the city from whatever comes next. Plentiful soon mission. Thank your family of the much. I'm going to download this home up first. Hey, No, no, where's who is Postman? I love those other characters actually. What am I thinking of? List. Log in again. Ability should be in the section. Companion. Or who do I get up to? This is those. Section. One. To do with you. Mountain cleric. Long. The Crusader part. You were for mobility, environment, perception. Yeah, should I go back? The 3 points there. Okay, that's right nature, religion, and perception. Uh, doesn't display. Anyway, opinion. Authority. Uh, weapon focus again. Uh, short bows. There's nothing really else. Hey, is that right? Yeah, that's cool. Weapon job. And the bell. It's just most tower. Mostly shown. It's a things also. Yeah, with shaman. Yeah. That's my ability with max trickery deception. Weapon focus. Rapier. Yeah. Who was it? It was my own.
Can't make the demons wait.
Huh. Now let's talk about God first. Alright. Oh,
Hey, Chief. Hey, Dreamboat, come over here. I want to talk to you about something. Something really important.
okay.
Quit bothering the decent people in here, Woljif, or I'll knock your teeth out!
Wooljeff.
What's it to you, Delvin Dum-Dum? You were told to guard me, and I'm not stopping you. But no one told me I had to shut my trap.
Hmm. Alright, who are you?
Woljif. Woljif Jeffdo. I deal in useful things. I can get you whatever you want. Anything. But there's just one problem.
Uh, what do you want from me?
I'll lay it out for you. Simple job, 30 minutes tops. We go someplace, talk to someone, and in return, whatever you want, I'll get it for you. Some extra rations? No problem. Armor, weapons, scrolls, you name it. It's as good as yours. If you need my help with something, whistle and I'll be there. I'm handy enough with knives too, and even my magic know-how isn't too shabby.
Hmm?
What a load of guff! If you were good at magic, you wouldn't be stuck in here now, would you?
Don't you listen to him, Chief. He'd find fault with the Queen herself. I'll be useful to have in battle, and I'll sell whatever you want at a reasonable price. It's your lucky day. You won't meet another gem like me in Canabras.
Writing
Does it
checks.
really matter? Don't get hung up on the past, Chief. Don't look to the future. Live in the here and now.
He was caught thieving.
The shadow, what was that?
Get me out of here and I'll tell you. And don't worry, it's not contagious.
Can't help you while you're chained up here. How can I free you?
That's easy. You know, Irabeth, Feisty-looking gal, always wears armor. You can't miss her. She's the meanest fighter in the whole city. When you see her, put in a good word for me, will ya? Tell her there's this guy Woljif locked up for no good reason in the Defender's Heart. Well, for the follies of his youth. And he really wants to get out on bail so he can keep up his good behavior and make a contribution to society. You got that? Will you do it?
Alright, I'll talk to Elizabeth about the situation.
I knew I could count on you. Knew it the moment I laid eyes on you.
Talk later. I'm trying to sell. Go to review. Olivia, muted colors blends almost perfectly into the background. She appears relaxed, but her seemingly unfocused eyes are taking everything around her, tracking and filtering potential threats. The only tell is that she drums her finger on her hip near her weapon set. Sheath. She shows no sign of her injuries and confidently leans on her previously broken leg. She pretends to have noticed you, even though she watches you approach from afar. Oh, hey, see how you patched me up? Now I can run, jump, or dance or jig if I feel like it. Are there any suspicious places in the city that I should pay attention to? There was a couple of spots I wanted to check out, but I haven't had time. If there really is a den of cultists there, it would be good if you could swoop in there, toss some heads, and don't even need a search warrant. Olivia shoots you a crooked smile. First one is the Silken Thread. It's a funny little tailor shop that doesn't even take orders and never buys any fabric, but they always seem so busy. They're busy with something in there, right? But sewing it ain't. Second one is an alchemy shop. Topaz Solutions, and they trade in everything, not just healing potions. Judging from the ingredients I've been buying on the black market, there's something fishy about the alchemic rituals going down in that place. Tell me about yourself. He shrugs with a laser smile. Well, I'll be happy to, but there's kind of nothing to tell. What's so interesting about me? Where are you from? No one. He was born in the by the wind and found in a cabbage patch. Your shop's short. So that's an old habit of mine. I don't like babbling about my past, but you saved my skin, so I guess I kind of owe you to not clown around, right? I'm from the deal. Wouldn't wish my homeland on my worst enemy. You've heard of that place, I'm sure. Ruled by monsters that aren't alive nor dead, and the official religion is the cult of Don. And I grew up in the slums, like a weed between the cobblestones. I didn't have a dad, but I had a lot of aunts and uncles. My mum's cronies, no prize for guessing the kind of business she was involved in. They gave me a set of lockpicks, and as soon as I could hold a spoon, while the other kids were picking their noses, I was picking pockets. Okay? Like the dude I just talked to. I was 12. The monks of the Silent Shroud came across creepy guys with their mouths shut. They were the guards of Rhinoceros. My mum gave me her friends and we hid in a secret temple of Desna. I never saw my mother again. Oh, yeah. I lay low in the temple for the next few years, kept my head down. I washed the floors, fetched water, listened to sermons. Funny thing, after a while I started liking Desna's teachings, but as soon as I was old enough, I was out of it. I left and got as far away as I could. Mother should have hidden you in a temple of Jalen. Desna forbids his flock from harming her followers. Hmm. Mum couldn't tell her Dermody from her elbow, but she knew the city's underbelly like the back of her hand. What to get, where to get it, where to lay low. I don't know if there was any Shellenites in the dale, but if there were, I doubt they were rubbing elbows with the gutter stripes like us, gutter snipes like us. Quite a ragtag group you got there, from nobles to street thieves. Oh, you got that right. Ha ha ha. Only the best for you. What do you do in the night if the knights and the nobles fail to save the world? The low-lives are our only hope. Hmm? Okay. Where did you meet it? Beth? I was bumming around Teamon a while back, doing this and that. Desna's temples sometimes gave me an odd job. You know, something they needed, people with skills like mine. On the surface it was fine, I guess, after Adele, freedom of river kingdoms. Should have seemed like having my chance to sit back and enjoy life, but I wasn't happy. There wasn't any joy in my life. I was all alone, no one cared about me, and I didn't care about anyone else either. I struggled to find a reason to drag myself out of bed every morning. Tying a stone around my neck and jumping into the nearest river started to look pretty appealing. One day I was hired to follow some fellas who the local authorities suspected were Rosmerian spies. I was stupid. I made a rookie mistake and they caught me. It's like my body had already decided to do what my mind had been fighting, to finally put me out of my misery, get someone else to kill me since didn't have the guts to do it myself. They grabbed me. I thought they'd gut me on the spot, but instead they hogtied me and dragged me off. And just like an animal going to the slaughter, my only thought was, let's get this over with. They brought me to the stinking cave, threw me out on the altar, and I realized who it was. Catholics from the Dale. They tracked me down after all those years, but I didn't care anymore. Wouldn't even have cared if they'd eaten me, whatever. We all got to do something, right? So I was lying there, staring at those knives pointed at me. When fate rolled the dice, I hit the jackpot. Arabella, there she was, storming into the cave. Good shit, I'm lying on an altar with all these knives wielding menaces around me, and suddenly Arabella, Beth, storms in, and I thought it was a herself, fierce in a shining arm with her gleaming sword raised. She made quick work of those scumbags, chopped them up just like that. I didn't even have time to blink. She untied me, and then Nivea's face lights up as she chuckles. Uh, she looked through the papers they had on the table, and she started swearing like a sailor. So much for Abdominade. Uh, how did you and Erebeth end up in Canabras? After almost becoming a human sacrifice, I knew I'd never want to leave Erebeth's side. Desna knows I fell for her instantly. I fell hard. My misery was gone, and when Erebeth showed me what it was in those papers, proof the cultists had a nest in her home city, well, I offered to help without a second thought. It just smiles warmly. She must have figured I couldn't wait to get my revenge on the cultists, but I didn't give a damn about them. It was her. I would go anywhere with her, even on a crusade or into the jaws of a dragon. But I took to life in Canabras, like a duck to water. I used to be an outcast somewhere, wherever I went. A half of the crusade are the same. Well, after all, who'd volunteer to tangle with demons on the edge of the abyss? You gotta be either a goody two shoes or with not too much with too much honor and free time, or a misfit, no life in the normal world with normal people. People come here, run away from their depths, their past, from themselves, but I fit right in here. It's a like living with It's like living without her. Couldn't be serious. Seriously, if I were alone, I'd definitely be gone by now. Well, sometimes we argue, can't deny that. Sometimes we bang our fists on the table and yell so loud that the walls shake, but that's all about border business. But at home, well, we'll give you an example. I kinda always wanted to move out of the broom closet we call a house and into a somewhere cozier. It ain't like they take a vow of poverty, poverty in the Eagle Watch, but every mouth. Somehow most of our spare money spent on the Crusaders' business. Sure, I get mad about it, but I knew it makes a helpless gesture. It's part of what I love about her so much. You know, Beth has that thing that matters most for a person, purpose, purpose in life. She's always got a reason for whatever she's doing. Her whole life is a crusade. I just drift around like a leaf in the wind until Desna brought us together. Now she's the meaning of my life, and it really makes no difference if we live in a mansion or under a bush. Thank you for your answers. Thanks for asking. Telling you all this kind of makes me feel better. Your responsibility is an equal. Nothing official. I'm not even a knight. You know? I just hang around you. Sure you want to know the details? Catching traitors, spies, cultists is no walk in the park. It's a delicate job. You you can't always do it all within the letter of the law. What if we surprise some suspicious blight with an official search? Everyone will know all along, starting with the cronies. And again, sneaking into people's houses at night ain't exactly legal. Crusaders can't be doing stuff like that, can they? Well, I'm not exactly a knight, she trails off. Okay.
Beautiful.
Uh, Someone to talk to. Okay. You then. A stout old man with a fuzzy grey beard mumbles a prayer. He looks so tired as everyone else in the tavern, but determination is stapled upon his haggard face. What can I do for you? Uh, who are you? This will run Glenfisham, rector of the local. The temple is gone. Though if we snooze here much longer, the city will be lost as well. Who's that boy with you? This one, Endo, Shepherd, my apprentice, is a smart boy. His faith is strong. They serve Israel, though still something he can learn from an old servant of Abrath. Well, he'll be a great cleric when he gets a little older. What kind of help can I expect from you? First, I sell scrolls. I have a lot of them. Something for every emergency. Second, while we're here in the tavern, I can read one for you. Guaranteed no surprise, but you'll be better not to go into the city without a cleric. I wouldn't be going there myself. I'm too old and my powers are needed here. Okay, so scrolls are selling. Hmm. Do I have alchemist kit ship? Wait, I don't need the other ones. It's up to level 2. So I'm up to level 3, so it must be even the one still before it, hopefully. Scroll kit. Unless you create scrolls of level 1 spells up to level 2, up to level 3, so that is well. That's a lot of money. Fine. It's charged. It will run. Alright, let's talk to land. Grease me with a note. Here for a chat, I'll be waiting for you to come and see me. This strange beast you've taken into your party. See what strange beast you've taken. I'd like to know more about it. Let me guess, your first question, can you wear a hat with your one horn? Am I right? Uh, you speak common much better than the rest of your tribe. Funny enough, common isn't all that common underground, Glenn says, but your observation is correct. I used to live on the surface with my parents for a while. I had a chance to learn a couple of things, the language and the fact that every peasant who sees my scaly mug screams demon and runs away. Didn't I ask half these questions already? Um, I don't know if you're interested, but my mum wasn't an underground tribe. Wasn't from the underground tribe. She the smuggler, the kind that used the dungeons of cannibals, secretly move, store goods. One time, two gangs couldn't agree on what how to share a prime cut until fire, and the winners threw the losers out down a hole, dead and living alive. My dad went to check if the corpses had anything useful on them, and he found a girl from the surface, barely clinging to life. An incredible feeling sparked between them. Or maybe the girl just liked men with scales and a cat nose. That might be it. One way or another, he got her back on her feet, and he later even left his home caves. She left her smuggling days. They began an honest life together. That's the dreadful story of how Lane entered the world. The next chapter, however, my family and I never stayed in one place long. We lived sometimes on the surface, not underground. We couldn't even find a place to call home. Living in the caves was hard. My dad's appearance raised too many questions in Mendiv. It was war against the demons after all, and in the end, my parents decided to stop making each other miserable and separated. My father returned to our tribe. I think the peasant's screaming demon had something to do with it, or maybe Dad just he couldn't face life without that towel soup. I wouldn't rule that out for possibility. Um, did you come with me so you could see the surface again? No, no, that wasn't it. I just didn't have much presence for certain types of creatures, demons. I mean, if they want to destroy books, I'll be on the side of people they're attacking. So, like, a good option we watch. When you're my companions should trust each other. I'm counting on you to give them a sense and not excuses. Give them my sort of side things. Something like a boys. So I guess you know, shouldn't have been so aggressive. I'll just it's just that some things are hard to talk about my family, for example. Both hell take me into great misfortune, parents, all because of relatively healthy. I'm the best thing from a marriage between cave dwelling mortals and anyone from the surface. A healthy child with the right number of hands and feet, no apparent defects, no missing organs or other problems. This saw hope in me, so wished having more children. They thought it would somehow be all good. We would have had four brothers. The first was born 2 years after me and died 3 years later. He didn't have a nose, nothing even remotely resembling one. He could only breathe through his mouth. Mum and Dad were afraid to take their eyes off him for fear he'd choke and suffocate on something. But in the end, it was his weak heart that killed him. Then there was another pregnancy and birth. I pretended I was asleep, and snuck out of my bedroom and listened under the door. All those hours, it was very strange, but I never heard the newborn scream, not moaning, just, and the priest praying. And I dared to open the door a little and look inside. The priest stood there, very pale, one of them holding something, a small object that fit in his palm. He asked, "Do you know what this is?" And the other said, "I think it's a head," and stopped. Please go on. Lamb pauses. It turned out that the time Mum was expecting triplets. The first of the babies was born in pieces, and the other two didn't live very long enough to draw their first breath. About 3 weeks later, my father took me to the caves. He didn't want to leave. I could see it in his face, but I think my mum and he decided to put together the curse my people have carried since the first crusade stood between them, not to mention the 4 dead babies. The old age was rapidly taking its toll on my father. After we returned to the cave, he only lived another 4 years. So if you were asking me why I decided to go up with you to the surface during the Crusades, well, the answer is I've always wanted to. I was afraid to leave my tribe, but it's always wanted me that I'd die in a world where 4 crusades could do nothing to stop the beast from the abyss, and the number of victims kept growing. I want to change that, or at least try. And if changing things is too much to ask, then at least get a little revenge. The ones who are behind the world wound owe me a great debt. The lives of 4 brothers, all of my mother's tears and my father's broken heart. It's a lot. It's so much that killing a couple of demons wouldn't do it for me. I want to do something real. I'm ready to pay any price. Call it my personal crusade, if you like. I used to think that things would be better if I'd never been born, but now I think I was born for this, to settle the score. Why didn't you go out to join the crusade before? You couldn't just abandon the tribe. I'm the best hunter. They'll have it much harder without me, but now the demons have really destroyed Nabris, and the caves almost collapsed on our heads. Sitting and waiting is just wasn't an option anymore. Anyway, I'm more useful up here than up down there. Plus, the chief let me go, which means my debt to the trial has been paid. Would you like to find your mother? It's your eyes, lay his mouth fast. Then, after a pause, he continued, "I don't want to meet her anymore. Not because I feel any resentment. It's that she's a half elf. Barely got any, barely got her first grey hair. That would be a ramshackle old man. She's buried enough children. There's no need to make her witness the death of another. Hope you understand." Well then, I'm very lucky I met someone who not only helped me choose the right path, but is happily listening to my whining. Your parents love sort of artists, but that doesn't mean the same thing happens to you. What if you find true love? Someone who will leave you no matter what. Break my beloved's heart when I die in arms 5 years later. That's a fine thing to do to the person you love. Then again, there's a chance I'll inspire some tragic bard to write a tearful ballad. Thanks for sharing, Lauren. Thanks for listening. Tell me the story again. Who read that? Um, Mongrels have short lifespans, but you don't look like you're getting older or dying. How old are you? I'm as old as I look, no surprise there. Remember, Sal is 10 years older than me. I remember him back when he was a fearless warrior. The day by day, I watched him turn into an old man, and him and my father. Happened very quickly. First, you miss a shot because you don't see the target as clearly as you used to. You think it's because your eyes are tired. You tell yourself it'll be better tomorrow. And you notice you're having trouble breathing, that climbing is harder than before. Unclenches his human fist. Uh, your fingers stop bending. You have to tie your sword to your hand. You can't even put on your greaves without help. When you're washing your face in a steam stream, sometimes you catch sight of a grey-haired, wrinkled old man you didn't recognize, and this goes on until one day you come across a cave beast and you realize you can't outrun it. My dad kept diaries making it of the signs. I saw it too. The last year I had to help him out of bed, help him dress, remind him to eat. Times he forgot that. Told him that where we should have stayed on the surface, and he jokes that dodging like goddess was behavior unworthy of a crusader. He meant that was more. Every morning I wake up and check how I feel. But there is no sign yet. Even so, I don't have much time. I need to do something useful before I forget why I came here. Talk about Wendigo. Alright. Tell me of your connection to Wendigo. I mean, where do I start? One turns and half of his first. We grew up together, trained together. He was the chief's daughter. She was groomed to be the best for her life. And then when I came along, we were rivals. We dredged up each other out of tight spots too. I always been drawn to a grand heroic gesture, and sometimes idiotic ones. Whereas Wendell liked to roam unexplored passages, find new caves, making maps. He wanted to be a great huntress, the one who's making it through the shield maze, but said she, better if she died. The death of a friend is painful, but watching a friend become a shadow of a former self is unbearable. She doesn't think she's a shadow of a former self. Whether you were just friends or whether she doesn't think of course she thinks she did everything right, because the second she starts to doubt herself, she'll have to face the truth. It meant that she's just a cannibal that demons use as they wish. She wants to get stronger and stronger, but for what? I'll never understand what drives her. Were you just friends, or were you something more than that? Wow, you really don't pull any punches, do you? There was a time when I started to ask myself the same question. Linda knew me better than anyone. Understood me better than anyone. She was my first woman. We never loved each other. Maybe I could have grown to love her, but it always seemed like she never understood what love was. Maybe she wasn't capable of those kinds of feelings. Found out everything. So, can you run out with your horn? You can, but certainly his eyes don't suit you too well. Kind of thing I want to know. Thank you. Tell me about your people. Of course, what would you like to know? What's it like living in your caves? Imagine in the entire world there was only a few hundred people like you. There's not an inch of fertile ground anywhere, nowhere to grow grain or for bread, or potting for litter. Your neighbors are beasts who want to eat you, or parasites who want to infect you with their larvae and then eat. And if not for that bad, because you can try to eat most of the things they are trying to eat you. Sometimes at the risk of getting poisoned, sometimes with almost no risk at all. In the worst years, there's not a single living thing anywhere to be found, predator or prey. And then when you eat a mushroom soup, when you eat mushroom soup, let's say 3 times a day, but that was barely enough for once every 3 days. Barely enough for once every 3 days. Life underground has upsides, unintended. There's no risk of losing the roof over your head. There's no bad weather. Not counting the earthquakes, of course. Are you really the descendants of the First Crusade? No like demons spawn, aren't we? Sad but true. Without the demons, there would be no mongrels. It's the magic of the world womb that affected our ancestors and made their children the way that we are. Like most in our tribe, Chief Skull fancies himself a descendant of the underground crusaders, the one our heroic ancestors left to guard the caves. I don't know if it's true or not. The angel came to the caves for a reason. Maybe he remembers us. Remembered us. Those were evil and dangerous times for First Crusade. Hundreds of crusaders began having children. Their babies were born with fangs, horns, warts. They covered half of their faces. People didn't like to new look. Inquisitors sure didn't. Inquisitor ancestors fled persecution, made a home for themselves down there under the ground. It probably intended to find a cure to their children, hoped to return in time, but it never happened. Instead, the world wound legacy was passed down generation to generation. Jungle parents can only guess what their children will look like. Each of us is born with a new mutation. Many mutations are fatal. It stops. Down in the caves, we usually don't congratulate the family for the birth of a child until they turn at least 3. Most don't even get a name before that. There's no point. It hasn't been that long since the First Crusade. Why do you know so little about your ancestors? Our lives are much shorter than most uplanders up here. Only a few generations pass, and many still live who bring back old scholars as it stood untouched by the demons. Queen Godfrey, for example. But where we live, mongrels start getting old much earlier than humans, much faster with devastating consequences. You live past 40, and fewer live long enough to die of old age. Hunger, disease, and monsters are deep, are more effective killers than time. So for us, the story of the First Crusaders legend happened generations ago. There is no living in us. We have a tale of wise and great ancestors who left us to stand guard of catacombs, but in reality, I suspect they were desperate creatures who couldn't figure out how to dispel the demonic plague and who were abandoned by their own kind. You have a way to tell the day and the sun. This statement has a big settlement has a big gong. which we treat like a relic. Their gong keeper hits it twice a day, mark the beginning and end. But this custom doesn't keep time very precise. Every minor child has snuck up to the gong to strike it at the wrong time at least once, just out of pure mischief. Nothing could keep me away from it. Not even the fact that I only have one ear, which means it would take double the punishment once I was caught. So sometimes the wrong strike get mixed up with the right ones, and the tribe find themselves jumping up every morning in the middle of the night. Shouldn't was fight each other. There were some skirmishes and I've been forced to kill my kinfolk too. Fights mostly often break out with food. We have laws in the caves, written and unwritten laws, that we follow. We respect one another's rights to live. Hunger, it can push a person over the edge. Never, you can count on that, stolen someone else's kill. But I can understand those of my kin who tried. To hear your kin's begging for food, not to be able to feed them, terrifying. He frowns and goes silent. You're the only member of the Ethonian tribe to call your people mongrels. Why is that? Because of all Valerian calls us that. I don't see the point of all this hemming and hawing over what they're called. Humming and ahhing, okay. Humming and ahhing over what we're called. Anyone who finds it offensive or takes issues with it can lead the charge against the name. No one's stopping them. But personally, I'm not going to pick up a fight or something as unimportant as that. Thank you, I found everything on that. What do you think of a life on the surface? It must be very difficult from life underground. Of course, as far as living conditions, the surface is definitely a better place to be. It's easier to get good food and water, not to mention cooking a house and even a few things. In older and well-established settlements, you don't have to deal with anything scarier than rats and maybe foxes stealing chickens. Just for the kind lives you have. You heard a story about demon worshippers abducting a whole family, sacrificing them one by one, while the others watched. But there were some braver crusades nearby that killed the villagers and saved everyone. And I heard another story of a young blacksmith lost his arm in a fire. He couldn't work to feed his wife and baby. They tried their best and lived from hand to mouth, but they were still saluted. In the end, the desperate blacksmith worked a traveller one night on the road, but there was some brave crusader knights nearby, and they caught the robber, threw him in prison. Not long after, his wife smothered their baby and hanged herself. Up here, the same person can promptly say it's protecting the innocent from demons and then look the other way while the same innocent starves just because they were born to a poor family. Queen Godfrey prolongs her life with the sun orchard elixirs. That costs enough to feed an entire city. In our cave, everyone is equally poor, and if one person starves, the whole tribe starves. We don't abandon our own in time of trouble. That's the power of a tribe. Laws of the surface are made so that some get everything and others get nothing. I might be just a native fool from the caves, but I don't understand how it's possible to have so much more and share so much less. Anyways, Look who I'm talking to. You must life on the service much better than I do. Go with that. I never leave a needy person in trouble, even more than most, which means I'm now able to help others. In reply, don't take my words as a reproach. Approach. Uh, I like gambling as much as any like a cracking joke. Said you're prepared to risk your life to do something meaningful. What exactly do you mean? To invest in you, invent a new salad and have it named after me. Truth be told, I don't know. It would be much easier if all I really wanted was to kill demons and a few more demons and more demons after that with honest rage and needless brooding. I think I really envy the wares who can live that like that. But I can't. If life's taught me anything, is that there's no easy choice. Dying glorious death isn't. Some heroes of the Crusade did that and also saved entire settlements. Erected the Wardstone, their actions kept the land of Medivh safe decades, but that's what I want for my dumb short life to have meaning, meant something. You think I have an exaggerated opinion of myself? Some scaly freak crawled out caves and wants to take control of the Woodstone and flaunt Omnidae's banner. Any fool can charge at the front line of the demonic armies and die there, but what good will that do? I want something meaningful, if to pay the highest price, especially if I have to pay it. There's plenty of worthier people who need to survive this war and tell everyone else what nonsense, what nutcases we were. Uh, Thank you for your answers so long. Uh, Pause for a sec. I know I'm do that scoundrel dude. I'm gonna recruit him. Uh, finish off more people. Go talk to her. So, there. I hope this example clearly illustrates the difference between just news from the last war and Crusaders, the perfection of form and spirit. They were imbued with during creation, turning big parts of world war machines. From the ragtag punch of individual battle. Tell me, why am I supposed to be impressed by your reckless assault where everyone else is fighting for their egos and for the right to beat peers? Your swift but pointless heroic sacrifice. I'm listening to someone else's discussion as well. This is. Alright, I listened to the discussion. One of the Crusaders angrily closes his fists. If this were of yours and come for us, pull out of their guts and think you'll never be of us. Uh-huh. I would love to see you storm a 6-foot tall walking castle shaped like a gigantic elephant that carries siege fortifications on its back, and have you know, these fortifications were defended by just in priests, horsemen armed with demon-bound war machines. They use the enemies you cannot defeat in mindless weapon as mindless weapons. You should not argue with someone who happens to be the most authentic research on the history of warfare 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. The lecture is over. Do my team listeners have any questions? Yeah, who are you? Yes. A warrior magus scholar of classical warfare from Dawn. I admit that I am mildly offended by the fact that my name is entirely unfamiliar to you, but I'm willing to accept this due to villain isolation from the suffocated culture of the world at large. You've come a long way to be here. I'd like to think myself as an inhabitant of Galorian, and I don't narrowly identify with any country in particular. Why did you come here? To witness a legendary war. The confrontation between Dresden and Plaintiff, famous for its love of violence in the Crusade, from every continent united by the common goal of defending their homes, an epic struggle of colossal proportions. It hasn't been particularly epic so far, truth be told. Maybe she's just can't see it from here. You will get way more epic if she stops hiding amongst us and takes a walk outside. Will smirks. She doesn't speak amongst words. It looks like you know more about warfare than any of us. Am I hearing things, or did someone finally acknowledge my comp- competence in the art of warfare? Perhaps there is a significant, open-minded person among the Crusaders, after all. I find myself pleasantly surprised. Why don't you join the Crusade and show them how fighting should be done? No, I'm a historian and an analyst, a theorist, and a theorist. Do you know what these words have in common? They describe a mortal woman who does not participate in the conflict on which there is will be founded. But then again, I would hardly be able to describe this as anything other than a feasible likeness of the last war. Yeah. The uncle with the deemed eye grins slyly, comments, the more dangerous the upcoming scuffle is, the more motivated we are to find clever and wittier words to justify not actually doing the fighting. What is the last war that you mentioned? The last war of Justica, of course. Justica. A large-scale conflict that took place over 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. It was a war against the Mauritian, bearer of forgotten plagues. The war that ended the legendary Cheska imperialism. An epic struggle that became the most vibrant page in military history. Alas, all conflicts that followed were but a pale shadow, including one I am witnessing here. How do you find the last war of Cheska so inspiring? Imagine legions of golems imbued with extraplanar spirits marching into battle. Imagine flying cities that swoop out of the clouds, terrifying monsters, birds of prey to drop forces on top of enemies. Gigantic, pictures gigantic mechanicism powers by captivated with very large demons and devils. Imagine standing in the warpath of walking citadels, or having to cover your ears to block out the sounds of cannons loaded with shrieking elementals. Finally, imagine the ultimate weapon that defeated this deadly night plague. This affliction was an attack dog, a trained epidemic, a tamed pestilence, striking only those who masters wanted to kill. Imagine all these terrorists understand that not fighting and that not flight of fence can even come close to the horrors of the nightmares that they made real. How do you know so much about Jessica's last war? I can say without false modesty that there is no authoritative researcher when it comes to history of the warfare 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. I've dug ahead my whole life to the subject. I've personally visited the old battlefield, studied the most mysterious and forbidden archives containing chronicles of ancient wars, sometimes risking my life in the process. Saw a fallen sky city, the Shuri Empire, with my as I ripped out the control crystal from an exterminator class combat bowler, that guardian of Jiska's laboratory with my own hands. These fingers held the flask, the servants of forgotten plagues used to create the first generation of pestilence that devastated the Jiskavian Empire. How, how do I know so much? I saw and touched everything I am telling you about. Huh. Attack this person. Uh, Allow me to explain. You run through the cause of such. Just allow me to explain. Debate. I'll be happy to prove that the current conflict can hold a candle to the last war of Gisco. Okay. Well, the last war of Gisco was waged within a significant number of troops. Both sides actively relied on reinforcements from Allied planes, and their strategic planning was affected no fewer than 7 rounds of intensive design. None of the above applies to this war of yours. Compare to Jessica, we are the Stones Club wielding. We are but stone wielding kobolds. I'd like to conceal my theorist within a few words of wise counsel from Gregor to advise the Pharaoh of forgotten plagues. I doubt you will comprehend the true genius of this statement, but here is nonetheless a gratifying season. Gas gadfly sees a fox, but the ox pays no heed to the gadfly, but Crimson Favor takes them both. Crimson Fever takes them. Okay. Events of the past are shrouded in legend, but the fate of the world is being decided here and now. That is what you fail to grasp. The principles of the war are always the same. Weapons, causes, and resolution resources may change, but the foundations remain. In succeed. Okay. Of course, I'm not trying to diminish the importance of current events. What I'm trying to say is that from the standpoint of history and the particularity of history warfare, she also fixates staring at the unfriendly eyes of the audience. The real importance of these developments won't become obvious till later. As a scholar, I cannot deny that there is a certain truth beneath your skeptical statements. History is a complex cycle discipline, rooted in fact. Heaven Earlier and further careers from the present one. If I were to agree with fate, the Crusaders can polish the tales of slaying a single with adding a dozen doors. I don't know what any of that is. I could win this debate, but I am above such things, and therefore I am forced to admit that your skepticism is not entirely without merit. Have you changed your mind about joining the Crusades? I am sure you wouldn't have been able to expound on your arguments in a longer discussion. Okay. Glad we both understand this limitations. Uh, it was always a pleasure to face a worthy opponent, even if the debate takes place in a grimy tavern. Perhaps especially because of that. Sword, belt, and hands you the weapon. This is a blade worthy blade. If will be yours, be of use not only for the strong but also for the wise. This is where I bid you farewell. Before the end of the day, I was planning to observe how many demons use tactics to drive their prey like herds of livestock. It is about time I get back to my research. Hint of a smile, gracious, when those lips. Yep. Many crusades around here. Stay safe. Yep. Short sword. Fire dodge. There. And use short swords. Long swords. Uh, use the short swords. I'm not like anyone using short swords.
Let's see what we can do. Here we go.
And talk to that person. Uh, uh, cool athletic man, great shoes, legs, prematurely grey and short and close to his head. Military style, he leans in. He is in well groomed, neat and well groomed. On your side, bold sails, large, but agile flying. It's a man who is ready to be on the move. Greetings, I am Hiltil, well, and you're captain of the Pathfinder Society. Yeah, Pathfinders. Yeah. So, pretty probably. I am the superior officer Pathfinders in the region of Mendiv, where the society is running almost no operation here right now. Besides me, there is almost no Pathfinders here. Actually, I am the only stuck here because of the old feud with that demon worshiper known as the Spinner of Nightmares. I had to work alone without the support of the society because I made a lot of acquisition acquaintances, made a lot of acquaintances among the local mercenaries and general fighters. If you need any good fighters, I'm an honest, always talk to me. Tell me about your confrontation with the Spinner of Nightmares. It all began with a task of Pathfinder Society arrived in Mirror with my team to investigate the sudden death of a famous crusader, Baron Valeron. We soon focused on a small hospital for the wealthy where Valeron was being treated shortly before his death. Turns out that a gang of Bathomis cultists calling themselves the Labyrinth of the Mind had gotten a foothold of the hospital. They were obsessed with twisting the minds of the victims and targeting fragile people too weak to resist. The people was filled with perfect victims, isolated for weeks from outside world, completely helpless, and when they returned, they were different, almost normal, but the moment they heard a certain phrase, something dark awoke in their minds, and they transformed to the servants of Bathomus, ready to lie, betray, and even kill. The labyrinth of the mind was betrayed, preparing to inflict all these elite circles in Mendiv, but Baron Brenron stopped them. Okay. He was too loyal to his own oath and too resilient to their spells. He fought for his freedom, and until the strain broke his heart, we opened and cleaned the city of Baphomet's pits of vipers. Their den was a cradle of sin and filth. They cast spells on each other, and their loathsome fantasies stepped real on the lines of the world. They dreamt of horrible and forbidden things, and they fought like mad. We burned the place to the ground and slaughtered everyone we could. The leaders of the cult still were able to flee, and they were set on revenge. Okay? They abducted my daughter, Bore, who served under my command in the Pathfinder Society. They left me a note full of tart salts, mockery, and snares. From that note, I learned the name of my enemy, the Spinner of Nightmares. A few months later, I confirmed that she was the leader of the Labyrinth of the Mind. My hunt began. I would get Dore back at any cost. The bloke grits his teeth. I want to know more about you. What exactly are you interested in? Common Pathfinder, there are many others like me. Fate and has brought me to this land. How did you end up here? I was working on assignment with the Pathfinders, and then a demon worshipper named the Nightmares abducted my daughter. The past 3 years, I've been trying to save her. During this time, I've become a specialist in scouting demon territory. I've been plagued against the cultists. Truth be told, while pursuing this Pursuing the spin-off of nightmares, I've been acting more on behalf of Queen Godfrey than the PathFinder Society. It's a long story. Maybe I'll tell you the rest sometime. Queen of Nightmares is a true spawn of the Abyss. I've fought her many times, but I've never been able to seize her by the throat. Tell me of your daughter. Helen, smile showing his help. As a girl, Laurie was an angel who lost her mother. Early on, she was left to follow my example. I drifted a little idea how to talk to a 10-year-old girl. Drifted with little idea how to talk to a 10-year-old girl. But even with such questionable parenting, Laurie managed to grow into a wonderful girl, brave, smart, beautiful, and entirely unbearable. She always argued with me about everything. Laurie was 18 and told me she was going to be a Pathfinder. All I said was, alright. I knew there was no use to trying to talk her out of it. She was a fine Pathfinder. I never forgive the spinner of nightmares for taking my girlfriend. Yeah. Tell me of the Pathfinder Society. Pathfinder Society is a globalized organization. A unit has the opportunity and adventures of all kinds. We explore the world and uncover its secrets, travel as face down threats in times of trouble, and later became our primary focus. We were driven by curiosity and desire to make the world a better place. Of course, some seek profit or hunger for glory. In any case, it's hard work, but it might send you anywhere on a mission, weekly, a little place in the society. It's more for a seasoned fighter. There are society lodges in many great cities. The closest one is each led by venture captains like me. The Green Lodge is an absolute center of the world. And sits there, the anonymous council of our leaders. Let's talk to you. Hi there. During that march through the dungeon, we never got a chance to exchange a proper greeting. It's high time I shake your hand. I'd like. I'd like to know more about you. Of course, ask me anything, I'll answer honestly. Tell me about yourself. Where are you from? I'm a little bit from Geb, a little bit from Rish, but mostly I'm from the Knights of Ledemdo. These words are good. I was accepted and began my training at 14. I belonged to the ranks more than I belonged to any other place. The ranks. You've come to Mendiv. Come to Mendiv on a long road. Very long road. There looks at you carefully. Traveler is expected to have amusing stories. Unfortunately, I only have 3 tales of any interest. I'd like to save them for our next feast. Otherwise, I won't have anything to show for myself when it's time to start bargaining, and when it's just won't do it, especially since I'll win the night with my previous tale of the battle with Shampoo. What? Um, got an arcane check done. The victim's blood during combat and gain strength from it. Yes. They do very quickly, and they blind one victim, suck out their blood, and they strike their next victim quick as a light. Now you've tricked me, and I've started telling how I may as well do it properly. Picture a small town in Drag down into the dungeon. There's two murderers waiting to be executed. The gallows are already built for them. Ropes being brought. Sometimes life takes a surprising turn. Suddenly, a paladin of Illuminate appears at the doorway and offers the murderers a deal. They go with her to fight some monsters. They'll live if they survive, that's it. There's a big difference between immediate death and the probable death with a glimmer of hope, wouldn't you say? So we are traveling through the desert. Me and my friend, a priestess of Serenade, along with the little rat folk fellow who asks for help. And two cutthroats. We get to the rat folk village and see what is lying around. All drained dry. We figured we'd have to fight vampires. And then the little rat folk described the monsters who attacked the village. That's when we went in all bizarre and like the sun was high. The vampires couldn't attack until dusk. We never got a chance to look around. Black shadows, quick as the wind, attacked us from all sides. The vampires, but gem buckers was there. One of the lads we pulled from the gallows got killed right away. The second one ran for his life. They left me, the rat folk, in Kenya. And that was the name of the priestess, and we all sealed themselves for the fight of our lives. And just when we thought the end had come, the champers surrounded me like a pack of dogs around a bear and a rat folk friend. Wounded him down. The teeth of the quickest of the most blasted monsters was clenched on. One of the quickest, most blasted monsters was clenched on Carrier's shoulder right when we were all hope was lost. The other lad from the gallows suddenly comes running back, kills the beast attacking, and I'm sure you know the turning point in the fight. Well, this was it. The moment before we lost, and a moment later, we had it under control. The doctors dropped dead. On by one, the little rat folk was with his family, and we were hiding in the base. Who were hiding in the base. Priestess is when I closed the eyes of that boy from the gallows who saved us. It was a shame he didn't survive the fight. May the gods keep his soul in his journey through the afterlife. It's a good story. He could have died in disgrace in gallows, but instead he tried to shoot. Choosing more cheap stories than so. Serbia was a fool. Easily for positive one. And I fancy the shooting stunt earned him some points in his final dungeon. Killing back doesn't end in death. I have no pain for them. As Would he be hanging from noose and me? And all the rat folk would be dead in the village. Someone told me that indeed by a common person. The good times were precious. By the same token, an evil done by a noble. So it is 100 times more horrifying. That's what I really want to say. Sure, Hackers, just a good starting point. What made you become paladin of a Domade? Silly question, a good one. You should ask it of your competitors. But long story to start with, 12 years ago, I was nothing like the person I am now. I run the streets. It's talking with the other homeless orphans. I stole a fort. I was stored for a bit. None of the proper origin of a paladin was it. Back then, it was the city of orphans, widows, 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 decimated the city regularly. My parents were among the victims. People never heard about the depths before they finished mourning their precious losses. One day, a group of knights of Adamina brought a glimmer of hope to the city, while others saw them as saviors and protectors. I was busy piercing their noble horses and their gleaming mithril armor. I was busy pricing up that noble horses. Wondering just how much one of these precious swords would fetch. Okay? A thief lives one day at a time. That's what I said. I was the type that never thought past the next job. Anyhow, I was able to sneak into their nights, camp and steal one of their mithril helmets. It was right there when it got no. Type was another someone dealt below to her unprotected head. And like all the others, she fearlessly retreated from the gates of the soul, and the one was fatal. Who really was to blame for her death? No, after all, the young thieves now. It takes what it takes to survive. Sometimes I can't judge. Even as small misdeed can have life is brutal, full of chaos. Life just comes down to life. But that's how you see it. Looks at you with no hostility. I can't accept the point of you. If the real way you tell me anything, it is that we account for our actions. It's too easy to wave off responsibility if you use the cruelty of life as an excuse. Uh, you were asking what brought me into the ranks of as we all chose the Paladin's path for a reason. Some are guided by the ability of spirit, some by the Hello, camera crashed. Overheated probably. Nope, didn't overheat. Must have get knocked the cord out. Um, I don't really install it. Today, some are guided by an ability of spirits, some of the desire to fight injustice. I became who I am through penance and a debt unpaid. The day my Asaman died protecting my city, I wanted to kill myself for the terrible guilt I felt. But then I realized it wouldn't make the world any better, and I decided to instead I'll try to take her place. I'll become who she had been and protect the innocent that she would no longer be able to protect. What are the principles of paladins of Domine follow? What are the principles follow? I'd like to tell you, I'd like to recite code. It feels like I've said it 1,000 times, but it never gets old. There is strength in these words after a pause she begins. I will wait on my sword without my heart to guide it. Is worthless. My strength is not in my sword, but in my heart. If I lose my sword, I have lost a tool. But if I betray my heart, I die. I will have faith in the inheritor. I will channel her strength through my body. I will shine in her legion, and I will not tarnish her glory through base actions. I am the finest first into battle and the last to leave. I will not be taken prisoner, but my free will. By free will, I will not surrender those under my command. I will never abandon a companion, though I will honor sacrifice freely given. This is 2 hours away. I will guard the honor of my fellows with thought and deed. I will have faith in them. When in doubt, I will force my enemies to surrender, but I am responsible for their lives. I will never use challenge an equal. I will give honor to worthy enemies and exempt the rest. I will suffer death before dishonor. I will temperate in my actions and moderate in my behavior. I will strive to emulate a dominator's perfection. I think I have to stop this, otherwise this video is too long.